Over the weekend, my family and I traveled back home for a wedding. I lived in this small town years ago and had wonderful neighbors who had a boy and girl, 2 years younger, and they were good kids, but we were always playing practical jokes on each other. Over the years, I got to be friends with the dad and son, as the son did odd jobs for me to earn spending money. Once the kids entered high school, the PJ the sister played on the brother got more serious and somewhat hurtful. On his prom night, she added hair removal cream to his shampoo, and as a result, large amounts of his hair came out. He ended up shaving his head and attending prom completely bald. I moved away a few months later and had only email, text contact with him over the next 9 years. He finished college and got a good-paying job and settled down near his parents. Now to the present. We got a wedding invite from his sister and thought it would be a nice trip to go back home and see my family and also attend the wedding for an adult night out. She was having a huge wedding paid for by her parents, groom's parents, and the groom. My brother agreed to take my kids to the family lake cabin for a fun 2 days. On the morning of the wedding, we get a text message from the dad that the wedding has been canceled, but the reception will go on as planned, but would just be a fun party. We were confused but attended the now party, where we found out that the brother had gotten his long-awaited revenge on his sister for the prom incident. He added the same hair removal cream to her shampoo the night before the wedding, and again a large amount of her hair came out. She refused to be seen and refused to go forward with the wedding, so they canceled the wedding part, and everyone, but the bride, attended the party. Brother was there, as were the parents. Brother, wife, and I had a great night of good food, catching up with long-lost friends and laughing about the extremely cold revenge the brother served his sister. So I had this neighbor, let's call her Katrina. Katrina was in her late 40s and was renting a 5-bedroom house across the pathway from my parents' house. She lived with her 20-something son, her son's pregnant girlfriend, and her grandchild. I lived with my parents and 2 siblings and 2 adorable pups. Here's where the story gets interesting. Katrina's house threw a birthday party at 4 p.m. on a Sunday for her grandchild, and around 9 p.m. it was over. Around that time, as it's a small estate, people use the pathway to walk their dogs through the estate. And on cue, the dogs ran outside and started barking. We thought nothing of it, but Katrina did. The next day around 7 p.m., we got a knock on the door from Katrina. My mom opened the door and was confused as to why Katrina was there. Apparently, she had been up all night because the dogs kept barking. Mind you, there are many dogs around the neighborhood that bark around the same time. So for Katrina to come to our houses and threaten my mom that she would call the pound was alarming to us. But Katrina left, and for a week we tried our best to keep the dogs down, as we didn't want her to stir anything further up. This is where it gets bad. Katrina started yelling over the fence the minute anything got loud. From us talking and having a good time, to the dogs barking, she would yell things like, "Shut your dogs up, would you be fasters getting quiet?" etc., etc. The one that got us to start taking action was when Katrina yelled over our fence, "I'm going to come over and kill those dogs if you don't shut them up." Here was my mistake though. Katrina had posted about my mom on a mom's Facebook group on how she was so rude and disrespectful when I confronted her at the door. One of my colleagues at the time told me about the post, and I commented defending my mom and what I had heard. Katrina had commented back saying that, "Thank you up, now I have your mom's name," and that was the start of Katrina's abuse. She would constantly message and harass my mom. She would be messaging me about the situation. All because of the dogs. Katrina even went as low as to download an app to call our landline from a private number anytime a dog barked in the neighborhood, which would blare at any time of the day. And if we didn't answer, she would call another 4 times until we did, only for the landline to be completely silent from the other end. My parents had had enough, and once they realized what was presented in front of them, they knew what they had to do. First, they found out Katrina's landlord and real estate who they were frequently contacting. They let the real estate know that they feared for their safety, as well as the dogs. They then contacted a lawyer to present a cease and desist to Katrina, who had to have this handled by police as she slammed the door on my sisters when they tried handing it to her. They then contacted a lawyer about a restraining order on her, as her abuse became unbearable. Katrina did not attend the court hearing, so it was ruled in our favor. The icing on top of the cake, the pregnant girl who lived there just so happened to be a former colleague of mine. So I messaged her out of curiosity, and turns out Katrina had a floor plan of our house saved. She had all the contact details of both my parents. She did download that app to call us, and she apologized on Katrina's behalf. I was thankful, And I told my parents, which helped their case tremendously. Katrina and the family ended up getting evicted, and the people that moved in after became some of my parents' greatest friends. They were able to live peacefully, and the phone calls stopped after a few months of their eviction. Moral of the story, don't mess with the dogs.